Hi, and welcome to Love is Patient 444. We're going to do a reading on the Divine Masculine. We are going to... Oh, okay. Really? Well, that's... Okay, I haven't done that before. All right, I am being led to ask the Divine Masculine's father for advice, or let me rephrase that. What advice would the Divine Masculine fathers give? What does the Divine Masculine's father want to say about your connection? Yeah, that's it. What does he wish to say about the connection? Where should we start with that, eh? Let me take that. No, that's not the question. Okay. The question is, what advice does the masculine's father have for you? That's the question. What does the masculine's, what advice does a masculine's father have for you? Yeah. Okay. Where shall we begin? You know what? I'm going to ask for earthly advice, okay? We're looking for earthly advice. So, I've got a lot of decks that aren't here. I'm just thinking because the decks that I'm thinking of pulling from, they're so abstract, right? Like, oh shit, let's do it. Okay, I'm back. See, I don't come on here with like necessarily preconceived readings in mind. That's why I can't pull out every single deck before I sit down and whatever, because I get inspired in the moment as to what needs to be done, needs to be said. So what I have here, this is one of my first decks ever. One of my first decks. This here is the inner child cards, right? Do you know how I got into tarot? I am in a connection where it was difficult, right? And as I told you, I grew up as a Christian, gave my life to Christ, to God at the age of 6. And I found that as I was going through this connection, that the Bible for me wasn't answering my questions. It wasn't giving me solace. It wasn't helping me for whatever reasons. You know, and part of me still feels bad saying that, but that is the truth. It just didn't satisfy me. Oh, get over it. Oh, you know, it'll heal until, like, all that. It just did not resonate. I ended up searching, like, why can't I get this person out of my mind? And up came Twin Flame, and along with Twin Flame came Inner Child. And so I really wanted to see what I needed to do. So this Inner Child deck is based on fairy tales, the majority of which we know, and are illustrated and linked back to signs, planets. It's really a beautiful deck. And again, I'm not gonna, I mean, I feel like I'm apologizing by saying I'm not gonna apologize, but I will, sometimes I do read from the book simply because there are nuances there that I just don't want to miss them. And they can word and phrase things in a way to convey exactly what it is that they mean that I might not be able to, right? And I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to give fluff readings. I want to do stuff that is meaningful and honest and authentic. And, you know, I may never have the biggest channel, but honestly, I don't want the biggest channel. I just want to work with, be with, read, teach, help people who want a more, I don't know what the word is, a higher level reading, right? Like, I'm not interested in karmic. I'm just not. I want to say something to you, though. The person that we consider a karmic, you know that they're also teaching us lessons too, right? It's not just you, the Divine Masculine. That person has been knitted into the situation, not just obviously for the masculine to learn something, but for us, we, you, to learn something as well. So keep that in mind, right? Like, don't curse your blessings. And when you hear and learn some of the things that these karmic women or men are going through with your significant person, honest to God, when I was like, thank God. Thank you, God. Thank you for the rejection. It hurt my heart tremendously. But I cannot imagine going through what I know this lady has been through. And nah. So I am actually grateful for her. I have never met her. You know, I'll leave it at that. I'll say I've never met her, and because I haven't met her in spite of what I've heard, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. And I'm going to stop my sentence right there. Okay, so what we're doing here is we are getting advice from the Father of the Divine Masculine. I really don't believe I have any, to be very honest with you. I haven't looked at the analytics. I might have, you know, masculine readers, and I hate having to say in every reading, and that's why you probably don't hear it. Energy is fluid. You know, take what resonates, leave the rest. You know, it's not based on gender, it's an energy. Listen, people, use your discernment, okay? Just because you're told it's something doesn't mean that's what it is. The whole thing is for you to elevate, look at yourself, excavate, examine, and elevate, okay? So if I say in a reading that this is specifically for someone who has no legs and you've got both of them, you know, use your discernment if it makes sense. But also, don't always take things very literally, because maybe you don't have the ability to walk away is also what I'm saying. You understand? Like, don't be so literal and don't be so dependent. Throughout this, you know why I also watch tarot? Because I was curious about how they read the cards and if I'm not picking up on something, right? So if you're also learning to read, learning tarot, you know, kind of getting your own deck and whatnot, you know, you do that. Get the education, get the learning, and then start to develop your own way of doing things, right? Develop your own way of doing things. Okay. So all of these decks require me to read from them. They each have their own system and their own meaning, right? Like this syllabus, and by the way, these are by the same author. The Hoodoo Tarot and Sybil's Oraculum. Is that? Oraculum, right? And these will allow us to go into the deep places of the masculine, which is why I picked it, right? This deck we're going to use to See if there's any messages about childhood for them, right? Where's my other? I'll get it later if I feel that we need it, but it's come to mind, so it came to mind for a reason. Okay, so we don't need this anymore. I'm gonna put that over there. All right. So here we go. Let's start with what his childhood was like. So I'm gonna need this book. All right. You know, is there a better place for me to put this? Hmm. 10 minutes in. All right. So, as we always do this, Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for your guidance, for your protection, for insight. We thank you for abundance, prosperity, and health. We thank you for the fence of protection that is around the viewers and myself wherever we are. Without you, none of this would be possible. I thank you for my gift of interpretation and understanding. I thank you for using me for downloads and insights so I could share them. I thank you for getting this incense, this frankincense, to stay where I put it, and it did. Yes. Thank you for that. All right, help me to choose the appropriate card. So, God, we're asking for insight and advice, commentary, understanding, enlightenment with regards to who the Divine Masculine is and why he is the way he is, and to learn something, to glean something here that we did not know before. The purpose is on one hand so that we know them, but also perhaps to help us have some compassion or a little bit more understanding, a deeper knowledge of the pathology that they might be, the pathology or the paradigm that they might be operating under. We thank you for the revelation. We thank you for the insight. We thank you in advance for a beautiful, timely, meaningful message that is helpful to the viewer, that perhaps will answer some questions or expose some things they always wanted to know. Amen. I'm already seeing something that I want to pick. Is that it? This one. What is this? Aladdin and the magic lamp. So this is the magician. And so if you look here, you can see that that's Aladdin. That's the lamp where the genie comes out of. There's a sword. There's a wand. I don't know that I necessarily see a cup. Maybe that thing on this carpet is a pentacle. I'm not sure. But here's the card so you can see it. All right. So we've drawn from this deck because we want to find out about the masculine's childhood. All right. Oh. All right. So I'm not going to read all of it because we'll be here for 9 years. I'm just going to read the highlights. It says, when this card appears in your reading, realize that you create your own reality from every thought, word, and action. It says, explore your creative genius. So from this I get is that as a child, perhaps they played by themselves. They were very creative, very imaginative. Perhaps they were lonely. They're very adventurous. There was a sense of innocence, and they were very curious. I think perhaps they also struggled with words as a kid, how to communicate how they felt, how to express themselves. This was a world or a place where they were treated. For some reason, they found solace. They felt going into this world was magical, and it was better than where they were. It served as some kind of protection, a mental protection, maybe an emotional protection. And so when I said in here, I can't see the cup, when I look here, it says, okay, so the genie may be considered the guardian angel of the childlike, pure mind, a presence that seeks to guide the child to self-mastery and ego awareness. It is from this awareness that the child learns to perform, create, and manifest outwardly the dictates of the spirit-illuminated mind or unconscious. The unconscious in here acts as the genie in the lamp. Okay? It says in the card, the boy is looking at the lamp, a sword, a wand, which is true, and an altar of crystals, which signify the four elemental forces of nature, water, air, fire, earth, and that he will use these tools to guide him on the path of self-realization. So I feel like the kid, your masculine, didn't have maybe a lot of friends growing up potentially. They might have spent a lot of time in books and reading, right? There was a whole world outside there for them, but their adventure took place in the mind, in the imagination. Sorry, do I need to put more on here? Give me 1 second, people. Oops. Come on. The thing is, if I don't put the frankincense back on, the charcoal will just waste, right? And I don't want that. And this frankincense, I have a little burner here, and I like this one because it gives me a pure, authentic smell of what the frankincense is. When I use it with charcoal, obviously there's a charcoal odor. There you go, buzzing. That's it. There's a charcoal odor which interferes, for me anyway, with the resin itself. It takes away from the purity of it, and I don't like that. Okay, let's get back to this. So this is the magician. I think also your masculine may have been very smart and a genius on some level. They had a special gifting or a special way of seeing things. But they also struggled personally. Okay, let's get one more card. I like this one right there. Wow, the yellow brick road. 19. I feel like that's a sun. You guys get major arcanas. Major arcanas. Yeah, so this here, when this card appears in a reading, it can enlighten your mind and warm your heart. It fills the dark caverns of your psyche with white light and divine wisdom. There's a rainbow bridge of compassion, understanding over which you can travel to meet your fellow pilgrims. Their childhood, I get the sense, was challenging. It was difficult. Maybe they lived with their flaws being pointed out about them. They travel on a different path than other kids. They felt different. Maybe they felt that they didn't fit in. They didn't belong. Whether it was a blended family, step family, or their bio family, it's just that, you know, it happens, right? I don't like to call people the black sheep of the family. I don't appreciate that term. I don't appreciate negative connotations toward blackness at all, quite frankly. From a youth, as we would say, from youth, your masculine had a different path for most others, and he's been on a path looking for kindred spirits, looking for guidance. I talked about him having a sense of adventure and knowing. I think from an early age, they were, as I said, they were different, but they had a wisdom about it. I don't know that I want to go into starseed and all that. I don't know how to talk about all of that as of yet. But they had a different path, a spiritual path. But they've been lured off of it. They were lured off of it. Maybe they were witnesses to things in the home that they shouldn't have seen, or something happened to them at a young age. But they are always fighting to get back on this path. They're always trying to reach and achieve the higher vision of themselves. And they knew this for a long time. This is not new. I'm being guided to say that because they were on this path, looking for their friends, looking for those that were searching just like them, they found that in you. Your masculine might be popular, but his connections are few and tight and small, and intentionally so. That's an intentional move on their part. Let's find out what your masculine's relationship was like with the mother. Okay, so this is another deck. The mother's wisdom, okay? Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the revelation. So he was an adventurous, very imaginative, creative child who recognized that he was different, potentially book smart, in a way would rather stay inside than go outside, perhaps was a bit timid. He had a world of a lot of magical, imaginative, you know, people in it. He played alone a lot. Maybe his father was domineering or controlling, or whoever the parental figure was in this. He realized also that he was on a path. His path was different. His journey was different. He realized that. Oh. So with the mother, it's called the Pythia, and it says intuition. I'm going to put it here while I refer and find it in here. So it's the book. It's a light color, so here it is. There she is. Wow. Wow. Here we go, people. So this is Pythia. right? And so you see there's a bird there. Your masculine has always had guidance, right? Guidance though, and we all have guidance. It's whether we pay attention to it or not. But as a child, they knew that they were being guided. You see this bird here? Right there. And then this dog here. That's guidance. That's spirit. Because you're never alone. Okay? So as we get here, this is the Pythia. We're talking about the relationship with the mom. There's intuition. Now the opposite of intuition, the shadow energy of intuition is reason. Don't you find that? We're operating in our intuition and they always want to give us some logical reason why something can't be done. And if it's illogical, then it's not real, right? Your masculine has always had this intuitive ability. Always had it. This card speaks to opening up to what lies beyond your five senses and to look deep inside yourself for wisdom. So Pythia was considered a priestess, okay, who sat in an inner sanctum where no one else could enter. They were cultivating intuition in a sacred, private matter. Your masculine has always struggled with insight through stillness. Okay? They don't necessarily like to be still. They don't necessarily like to be one with their thoughts. They're always looking for clarity, looking for reason, looking for logic. And they didn't always recognize when answers would come to them. So whether it's an encounter, a dream, being pushed forward in some manner. And because they don't necessarily enjoy being still, they look to be spontaneous and to change their routine and move through a new path. And changing the routine and moving through a new path could also be being involved with other people. I just want you to know that if you're experiencing that. They've always been aware that there's been signs around them, but they haven't paid special attention to it. Their ability to, they receive their gifts of intuitiveness from their mother. And that's where and how they are similar to one another. Your masculine, as a child, had, and still has, it's just covered over, but a sensitivity about them. They've always had a sensitivity to them. And he and his mother were deeply connected. So for example, I'm not going to say that if the mother is dead, this is not a reading for you, because we know that we still talk and connect with the dead, right? So just understand that you're going to need to think broader with this. Him and his mother were deeply connected. And she too struggled to keep her intuition, her confidence in herself, her knowledge and discernment and wisdom. She knew she had it but wouldn't speak of it. She, in a way, had a quiet strength, I would say. I almost feel like both of them, both the mother and he, were chastised for believing or voicing or trusting their own intuition as opposed to what was logically presented before them. Your masculine is back on his way to becoming a visionary and getting very much in touch with his intuitive side. Because it is that intuitiveness that will help him navigate this path. See, these things are too constant in his life. They're foundational things because these are major arcana pieces. And intuitively knowing or being led or drawn to follow a certain path has always been there for him, but it wasn't always logical, so they didn't really want to move in that direction. Although it's kind of like the Pied Piper. I don't know if you remember Shrek, whichever version it was, where they had the Pied Piper and all the ogres were forced to dance because of the flute, right? And so this call to the path is the flute. It's the flute. It is the enticement. It is drawing them to get back to center, back to balance, back to knowing and trusting and believing in their intuition, in the direction that they receive. Okay, so that is the mom. Your masculine is going back to learning how to, 1, open their third eye, 2, believe in the magic again. And magic is not logical. And being pulled or following a path, a winding road, and finding what we would say brethren to go along the path with has also been challenging. And so you are also representative of who their mother is to them, and in the sense that you are intuitive, that you do pick up on things, that you seem to have a knowledge about them that they haven't necessarily shared with you. But you see this bird and that bird. That's the connectivity, that's the guidance. Let me see if this is burnt up. Come on. All right, there we go. Okay, so that's that. So now we're going to get into the Hoodoo Tarot. Now we're going to start digging in. We're going to start getting in here. That's Hoodoo Tarot and this deck. Okay. So if I remember how to use this properly, we're going to pull cards. I just want to make sure I do this right. So when consulting, so we're going to start with the black cards because the father is going to share with us some of the core issues that his son is experiencing, okay? So let's sort these for a second. We're looking at the core issues of the masculine. We're going to be getting some answers. The father is going to share with us things that we may not have otherwise picked up on. So we're really grateful for these insights, for these answers. No more black cards here. Is this one? Yeah. Okay. We're really thankful for that. Okay. Okay, so let's go. Okay, good. I only have black cards here. All right. So we thank you so much for insight. We want to understand what is the major issue, right? That keeps the divine masculine away from the feminine. We already talked about what his childhood was like, what the relationship with the mother was like. But as a result of this childhood, as a result of this relationship, okay. Oh God. It says death. Their major issue was death. Does that mean transforming? Does that mean someone died? Did a parent die? Did someone significant to them die? A sibling? What does this death card mean? This is the major core issue that the masculine is having. So let's start to unpack this. Oh, okay. It says here that only distance is death. It represents a perception of death by the living. The remains of bones and artifacts of the nobles are buried and only signify their apparent end. These people in the family or community who led exemplary lives and were to be consulted about matters of importance and given offerings as required, deceased relatives were still considered present. We just talked about that. Even if they were unseen, ancestor reverence was part of the daily life for all in ancient Mediterranean. So here, death is usually understood as the end, but in this unscientific position that we continue to perpetuate because we become emotionally attached to specific forms in specific ways. Most of us have heard that the matter cannot be created or destroyed, but of little importance when we are grieving that such a short time ago was present that suddenly has now become the past. So if people know all matter is immortal, then what is the source of our pain and longing? We're going in, okay? So the source of our pain and longing is whatever we have accepted to be accurate in relation to time and space. Time and space. Time and space. That is why death hurts so much. Even if we are advanced enough to see the necessity of apparent ending and do not view it as bad or unfortunate, we will still suffer because of our perception of distance. And that's one of the things in the journey, right? Like feeling distant from your person. It's palpable, it aches, it hurts. They're not dead. You know, and sometimes I'm not wishing anything on anyone, but that would in a way make it easier because you know that there's a finality in a sense there, right? At least a physical one. Okay. When something or someone we adore is not in the form and space-time we are used to, we are wounded and long to travel back in time to experience that relatedness again. Do not feel bad about this, but understand that the present is actually where you belong. Be grateful for those times where you were with someone or doing something that brought you joy, love, understanding. Make peace with the mistakes by agreeing not to entertain thought patterns that resulted in the choice to do what you did if a similar situation presents itself in the future. So your masculine is dealing with some regrets. Your masculine has had losses out of shaken his foundation that has left him questioning things. He's gone off in directions and made decisions that were not necessarily best for him and not aligned for him. He's been wounded. And part of it is his perception, his thought process. I feel like a tower is required here to break down some of the stuff in order to actually allow them to fully utilize their intuition because it's been blocked. Doing this will make your focus on the best aspects of your ever-present experience by permitting the lessons learned to make you a better person. The beauty of your relationship with that person, place, or thing will always be relevant as a continuously beneficent force. The cycle of positivity will be perpetual because long after you've moved on, your ability to extract good from apparent loss will inspire others to do the same. Or at the minimum, at least they will know that it is possible. How many generations could be affected by such an example? If you're experiencing an ending or an apparent loss, don't focus on a new beginning if you're not up to it. Instead, focus on how much good you have because you had the experience. So the issue here, and I mean, I can't even, in all honesty, make out what this is. I don't know if you can. Like, it looks like it might be some kind of burial thing, as they said, but it feels very nondescript. Your masculine is stuck in a pattern of loss, but they don't really deal with it. They don't deal with it. They push it away, they push it down, they find something else to do, they rationalize it away. Your masculine is on this cycle because they don't take the time to actually deal with whatever the hurt is. The masculine needs to learn to make peace with the time and distance. And if he doesn't like the time and distance, then he needs to do what he can, as long as he has to do whatever he thinks he can do to fix it, right? So if that means a conversation with you, if that means an email, if that means reaching out to a grandparent or whatever, that's what they need to do. If it is writing a letter, if the person's passed, if they've left, and it's about writing a letter so that they can get their feelings out and communicate it, then that's what they need to do as well. That's hot. Lord have mercy. Let me put something else on here. Here, I'll do this one. Okay. So that's the core issue. Core issue is his perception of time and distance and the loss that they've experienced. Their failure to recognize that whatever it is that they felt that they lost, they can take the lesson from it and utilize that to push and catapult them forward on this path that they have. Part of dealing with the time and distance is knowing, because what they're doing with the time and distance is using it in the physical 3D space as opposed to expanding their intuition, utilizing their third eye, opening their crown in order to see or change their interpretation of time and distance, which would lessen the feeling of loss that they're experiencing and viewing as a death for them. Wow, that was a long... That was a lot to get there. Then we're looking at copper. So how do they project this, right? How do they project these feelings? Right? That's what we're going to look at next. How are they projecting these feelings? This is red. I guess that's copper. That's copper. I believe that belongs over there. Okay, great. So now I've got those cards ready for whatever the next set is. So, death, okay? So how does the masculine project this perception energy of death? How do they project this core issue in their lives? how does this death core issue manifest itself? So the data is going to show us how this core issue of death shows up for the masculine, and how you might see it, how you might be able to see it and identify it for yourself. When it shows up, what does that look like? Right? That's the question. What does it look like when he does this? Come on, don't give up. Keep going. Okay. All right, so, okay. It shows up as avarice. I don't know what that is. Is that a jar with money spilling out of it? Is this a jar? I don't think it's a heart. I think it's a jar that's been broken and money is spilling out of it. So are they perpetuating some kind of loss as their projection? Let's see. Avarice. So their core issue is their perception of time and distance. And they project their issues around time, distance, loss, separation. It says here, a nude soul is best adorned. The smashed vessel represents haste to acquire something or greed. This represents a destructive, all-devouring force. It says here that the desire for more than what the masculine needs is a result of failing to self-define success. They are erroneously applying pre-packaged definitions and ideals of love, romance, health, wealth, and happiness. Even when being told that they need less than what the external forces are saying that they should want. If everyone honestly assessed what they truly needed instead of concerning themselves with what others think, this would be a different place. The result of this democratic desiring are exhaustion. So he is focused on materialism and having more and keeping up with the Joneses and having a certain, he wants to appear in a certain light. But doing that, chasing after that, is causing exhaustion, frustration, exploitation, waste, and a feeling of emptiness that persists, so that no matter how much we do or have, or who we possess in our circles, and that is why he's spilling out of himself. He's emptying his contents. He's wasting. He's wasting. He's wasting his worth, his valuableness, his wealth. He's wasting it. It's seeping out of him. It says he needs to identify the key principles and his standards on every level. Yeah, he's lost his standards. Oh my goodness. And he needs to learn to make choices that support his plans, right? And so truth be told, he's been supporting choices that support his plans, right? He's in a distorted masculine energy where he's put the last things first and the first things last. They will need to discover what is and what isn't absolutely essential for you to be, do, have, to live comfortably and connectedly in the world. That be, do, have. I just did a reading. I haven't titled my videos yet, so I can't even tell you what it's called, but if you pip through the two before this one, you will see that I had two herbs. I think one was marjoram and the other was, it started with a C. I can't remember. What was it? Is it here? Cypress. Okay, that was it. You'll see this in one of the readings. And I talked about be, do, have in that reading, I'm quite sure. So once you've identified the non-essentials, you will no longer scrape, beg, claw, rob, humiliate, or destroy just to acquire or hold on to things that upon discovery never really mattered in the first place. If your masculine hasn't discovered that, he's about to. So it says here that this card is a warning that you might be seeking what is unnecessary to be satisfied. Didn't I speak earlier about the masculine being adventurous? And being adventurous doesn't mean, he's taking hikes and trips and swimming in the depth of the sea. No, with other people. He's drowning his sorrows. He's becoming disconnected from himself. Why? He wants to lose that intuitive knowing, but he can't. And it's a refusal to accept it, and the fact that he is distant from himself that is causing the issue. There's a disconnect within. He's disconnected from the path. And so he's filled that disconnection, that void, that emptiness, because things are spilling out of him with other things that he's now learning are irrelevant. What the masculine needs to do is to realign with what's most important and to make sure that his beliefs, his ways, and his actions reflect that. Yeah. Wow. So that's how they project. When you see them acting out, misbehaving, having all sorts of women overworking, indulging in addictions or whatever, that is them projecting their hurt and disappointment over loss, be it distance or time, or the disconnect within them, or their unwillingness to follow their intuition and apply it and take all that they've learned and walk the path that is for them. Okay, then what we have are 2 action cards, okay? So the action cards here, the blue are cool action cards and the red are hot action cards. So if I remember correctly, the blue cards is just something for you to be aware of, right? The blue is what you do internally, like a state of mind, and the red is what they need to do physically. So in order for your masculine to start to come out of this, there needs to be an internal shift first. So what is that shift? We want the Father to guide us in choosing a card that will let us know, because as we're talking to or getting these messages through the Divine Masculine's Father, understand that he has a certain knowledge because he probably holds some of these traits and tendencies himself. Understand? Your masculine just didn't pick these up as he was on the way to the market. No. These are passed down, be it by father or mother. As I think about this, maybe your masculine did not grow up with their father. Maybe there was no father in the household. Maybe he dreamed a lot about having a father. This lady looks sad. Perhaps the father was not home, he was absent. The child could have been empathic, picking up on her sadness, her emotions. To get away from this, he spent a lot of time in books by himself, a lot of imagination. Perhaps had a difficult time making friends, perhaps a lack of self-confidence in there as a youth. Or just say as a youth. Right? And I just want to say, I feel like I need to say, I'm not Jamaican. I had to take my mom to the doctor the other day. And I can't stand it when people say, oh, where are you from? And then they want to tell me where I'm from in the same sentence / question. Oh, where are you from? Jamaica? No, honey. We're from all over. All over. I mean, y'all should know the story. All right. So this is what the masculine needs to do internally to assist him through this. So what does it say? Oh. questioning. Yes, I love that. They have to start looking at themselves. They have to start questioning, why do I feel this way? Why do I believe this? Where did it come from? What's going on? How come I've adopted this as a way of being? Why is this something that we do in our family? Why am I fearful? Why did I push my divine away? Why do I only want to rely on my logic? Why am I banging all these chicks I don't even care about, or guys, whatever their deal is? Why am I wasting myself away? Why am I giving away pieces of my soul? Why don't I value myself? Why am I uncomfortable speaking my truth? Why do I push love away when I want it? Why am I more comfortable behind a mask? Resolution is required here, right? Resolution comes when you find answers to the questions that you're seeking, the questions that you're posing. In order to get these answers, the masculine has to turn this on. The answers will come in dreams. They will come in signs, synchronicities. It could come when they're watching a movie. They could be driving down the highway and see a billboard. They could be in the doctor's office and hear a song. The answers are on the way because they've now started to ask the questions. This is internal. So how does this questioning, or how does this internal action show up externally, right? So it's funny, we've got internal, external, internal, external. So the internal thing that there was their core issue was the difficulty they have with time, distance, and loss, right? And that shows up with them chasing what is irrelevant, unimportant, doesn't support them, doesn't align with who they truly are. So in order to start getting back to self, what they need to do internally is start questioning their situation and looking at things and analyzing what's going on, right? Recognizing that perhaps they're detached from their heart. Now, what is the outward action that they need to take? That's the red deck. Okay. Make some space here. What is the outward action? Whoops. Please provide clarity. What is the outward action that they need to take? This one. Huh. It says aggression. Aggression is their outward action. What is that? A scorpion. It's a scorpion with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 arrows or spears coming at it. They need to fight. They need to fight their patterns. They need to not continue to give their previous way of thinking any more dominion than it has. This is so ingrained. This self-avoidant energy, this way of thinking, that they're going to have to fight it. His father wasn't successful in this area, which is why he understands so intimately what his child is going through, because he went through it himself. I almost feel on some level the mother wasn't very successful with overcoming it, but it is their wish that their child does. And that they continue to have the fighting spirit and not give up, not to succumb. Not to continue to bleed out their worth. Okay, let's look at what the book says. It says, slash and burn for richer fields. Wow. Wow. Every so often there's like fires in BC, right? You'll see farmers, like if you drive in the country, you'll see like bushfires and stuff because they have to get rid of it. First of all, the nutrients from the plant help to regenerate the soil. It allows for new life, new growth. It allows for newness to sprout through by getting rid of the old and the dead and the things that are defunct and creating a new balance, if you will, a new environment, a new chemical or physiological or scientific integration in order to allow for the new to emerge. Okay, so what does it say? Amut. Oh, let me go back. I didn't even read this part. The scorpion represents aggression against attack, an unceasing battle until the very end. So this attack doesn't necessarily need to be external. I feel that this is a battle of the mind, right? It's a battle of the mind. It's how they've spoken to themselves. It's what they've been told as a child that resonates in their ear that they always remember. When they try to do something new, how they might stop themselves, right? This battle is an internal fight. So this is one that you can't give up on, or death is sure to come. They need to battle their mind. Their intellect and mentality and behavior and actions is so far, is so distant. Sorry, I need a drink. Is so distant from where they're supposed to be, that is the major loss that they're experiencing, a loss of self, being lost on this path, not following their own yellow brick road, not listening to their divine intuition and trading it for logic or reason and appearances. Meanwhile, they're atrophying and dying in the process. Okay, let's get back to this. Amut was the Cometian goddess of divine retribution. In the Pert Em Heru, or the Book of Coming Forth, the Book of the Dead, Amut awaited the judgment of the deceased. If a person was found not to be in alignment with Mat, or Ma'at, the truth, Amut would devour the person's soul, thereby extinguish them completely out of existence. Lord God. Wow. Yeah, this is a fight that they can't relax on this. So it says here, the divinatory meaning is destroy any and all obstacles to the attainment of your goal. Force is warranted at this time. Your divine masculine is in the fight for his life. Not a physical fight. It is mental. It is emotional. It is spiritual. He is fighting. So I offer prayer at this time. Now, we have a glimpse as to what's going on in the masculine's life. What they're enduring, what they're experiencing, what they're going through, how they're thinking, how they're feeling, and we just lift them up to you at this time. We ask for encouragement. We ask that even though the divine feminine might be feeling empathetic, which is allowed, and to have compassion is allowed, do not get sucked back in. You too need to stay on your path. You too need to exercise your magical gifts and utilize your intuition during this time. The funny thing is, you guys have the same requirement. The same requirement is just showing up differently for each of you. because you are already on your path. So don't start spilling out your contents. Don't do that. The aggression that you face, the thing that you need to stay the good fight on, is to stay on your path and not get stuck looking back, trying to pull out the masculine. We can pray. We can send love. We can hold space. But you, my dear, must keep moving forward. You must keep moving forward. Wow. Dragon Path or the other one? Something's saying the other deck. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go get it. Oops. This is the wild offering. Okay, as we wrap up this reading, I just pray that we get a message that culminates this reading. A word of inspiration, a word of understanding, a message to this one. Wow. Wow. Okay. Intention. It says intention is simply allowing the will and the mind to align and move in harmony. May I always focus on the highest. My intention is that all God's wishes for me come true. Oh, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful way to close this message off. The Divine Masculine needs prayer because he is going through transformation. He is going through change. He's asking questions to help him open his eyes and to get a different, more truthful perspective on what he's experiencing. His intentions are so very important right now. So very important. His level of commitment to himself. Understand feminine. He needs to commit to himself before he can commit to you. All the little she business he got going on out there, that's not where it's at. And they're realizing that. They're realizing that they made choices and got with certain people for wrong reasons, for material reasons, for appearances, for not wanting to be alone, because there was a denial of self. A denial of self. They have been on a long battle. I just get 9 of Wands energy here, the embattled soldier, when I think of this. When I envision the masculine in this reading. That's what I see. They're weary, but they must continue to fight. They must continue to fight. I'm going to say this to you. Look, as far as I'm concerned, summer's over. We're in fall. Butterflies. Butterflies. Butterfly. That is your, okay, either butterflies or feathers. And I don't mean, a little fluffy feather from your down jacket or your duvet bedding. Full on feathers like this. And butterflies will reaffirm that this message is about your masculine. I won't say birds because that's too easy. You know what I mean? Like, you see a bird anywhere. I figure at this time of year, you're not really going to see many butterflies. I don't know where you are, but here in Canada, you know, that's not going to be going on. And to see whole feathers like this, again, that doesn't happen very much out here, at least not where I go, right? So those are the messages for you to confirm what your masculine is experiencing. Let's put this there. Wow, that's something. Intention and intuition. Death, aggression, avarice, questioning will help him to pivot and rediscover his own golden path. Well, I just want to say thank you to the Divine Masculine's Father for this revelation. I don't know about y'all. I certainly wasn't expecting this at all. And in just what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards? Lord, how long have I been on? 111. Oh, that's my cue to go. Listen, people, I'll see you next time. Have a great day. Take care. God bless. Bye.